Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Fanimail, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Speaking Tree, a Dork-Bajir podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time, then talk about it every week. Today we'll be taking a deeper dive into Animorphs number 40, The Hidden, the book we read last week. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Brayden, horror movie aficionado.
Before we jump into our lots of different segments, let's start with our classic.
Fanimail! Ooh, yeah! Fanimail! Ooh, yeah! Alright, we got another Tumblr Fanimail. We got a Tumblr Fanimail. This comes to us from Anonymous on Tumblr, talking about book 35. They've got some suggestions, like, why not just morph a big animal to get into William Roger Tennant's house? Unlock the door or window to let in a friend who's morphed a raccoon or something that can hold small objects. Plant a bunch of hidden cameras. It's not as dramatic as having him strangle a dog on live TV, but you know he's gotta say some fucked up shit to his animals when he's alone. You edit out the alien stuff so the Yerks don't just kill him, then you mail the videos to a news station. They addend that because the Yerks probably kill William Roger Tennant anyway after his Yerk strangled Marco. Like, they wouldn't exactly be a useful host after that. So, you leave the alien stuff in and he just sound completely unhinged. And you know what? I think that's a pretty cool plan. They can get Axe to, like, rig up some tiny little button cams, plant them everywhere, and just wait it out. But, I mean, the poodle way was a really good way for Marco to, like, release his pent-up aggression. So, I get why they did the poodle thing.
Our next piece of fan mail comes from Miriam, who recommends our podcast to the Great Light podcast about Animorphs, which can't disagree. Great. We're all under 90 pounds each, so that's light.
Yeah, incredibly light. Jared can lift us all in one of his big meaty hands.
Yeah. We're actually all like 3 feet tall. Jared's the only normal-sized person on this entire podcast.
Like, I'm smaller than 3 feet. Like, I'm really only 1.5 feet tops. I'm like a little rabbit.
Yeah. I'm like a little frog. Anyways, thank you, Miriam. And if anybody, it's very helpful for us if you guys recommend our podcast on Facebook or write reviews on iTunes. Obviously, we love hearing from you in any way, shape, or form, but those two things specifically have the biggest impact in getting more people listening to our show. Unless you don't want to share us, which I also understand. Sometimes I specifically don't review things because I'm like, no one else can enjoy this but me. Which I also understand. Okay, next segment is...
Animorphs!
This is a segment where we diagnose an issue in the book we read last week and try to find a more creative and or effective solution. So the situation that we came up with this week was, how would you do reconnaissance and approach Gafinilan's house, and how would you communicate with him at first? So obviously it was like a comedy of errors in the book, because Marco lands on the force field, and then there's like, they're trying to like figure out all that shit about him, and they almost die like 8 times because he's got a fucking laser gun.
So does this assume that the first thing goes as happened in the book, where you go to where the creepy alien footage was and Gafinilan gets the jump on you, and then this is what you do after when you're following him?
We're literally at the point where they're in the... or Tobias, Marco, and Axe go and fly over the house. What do you guys think? I feel like the obvious thing is and when they did it already, is the reconnaissance as birds.
Yeah, they reconnaissanced as birds. Rachel and Cassie watched in the morning with Tobias before they went to school, and then Marco skipped school to come watch Gafinilan, and that's when he flew into the force field thing. So they have been watching him as birds for a bit. They know that he's hairy. He is assistant to a professor about particle physics, keeps to himself.
I feel like the landing on the greenhouse thing was pretty stupid. Also, wasn't he morphed as an osprey? So it's like, it's not the kind of thing an osprey would do, is it?
Yeah, no, that's not what birds of prey do, period. Like, yeah, it's just morph a seagull even. That's way less suspicious.
Also, definitely true.
I feel like in the past, they have been able to see force fields with their bird vision just by looking for, like, shimmers in the air. So why didn't they think that, like...
I don't think it's ever been in bird vision, but they have been able to see them they've seen illusions in spider vision.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it's in insect form. I just wonder why they have
holograms.
Illusions, Michael.
Illusions.
I just wonder why none of them assumed that Gafinilan would have protection. You know what I'm saying? He's shacking up with another guy. He's gonna have protection.
Oh my god. Okay.
No, I'm talking about a force field. What are you talking about?
Well, the thing is, like, I'm assuming also that if he's walking around, if he's that concerned, he probably has a gun on him all the time, right?
It's easy to assume. I mean, these guys have assumedly, I think from what we find out later on, they've been crash landed on Earth pretty much ever since Axe has. So it's been, I think, at least a year and a half, probably closer to over 2 years at this point, since they've rescued Axe and have been doing the battle and maybe the nasty. So, why don't they think that these guys have done any kind of protection? I mean, I guess they don't know where these Andalites come from, but even so, why don't they have protection?
When you say protection, are you talking about guns, or what are you talking about?
I mean, guns. I mean, force fields. I mean, some kind of, Visser 3's twin had all kinds of stuff all over his place. Yeah, he was paranoid Yeerk and also super rich, but you'd think that these Andalites, knowing that there is a Yeerk force in here where they are, would have, right? I just wonder why the Animorphs didn't assume that these guys are going to have to, they're going to have to break into the house, not just, Is anything that I'm making any sense?
I think so, yeah.
I think generally, just checking for where his, firearms and...
Yeah, just check out his firearm situation
And wouldn't, after their experience with Visser 3 and the David trilogy and the holograms and all that shit, wouldn't Axe be, constantly on the lookout for emitters?
Right? They know what emitters look like. You could probably spot those pretty easily.
Yeah.
I feel like Axe could even, if Axe was there in bird form, he could look at the yard and be like, okay, me as an Andalite, here are the most logical places to put an emitter, and then look under that bush in this tree.
And also, I guess when you think about it, eyeballs are not necessarily the only way to see things. Or rather, I should say, their bird of prey morphs are not the only ways to see things.
Yeah,
when he became a bee, it was oh, easy, done. Fucking, I solved it. They can just see a hole in the force field. But, you know what I mean? Smell, anything other than just the bird would be helpful before approaching. Mind you, the book's only so long, but we're not really talking about the constraints of the book here. We're talking about, reality. But I would just morph everything that had, a very strong sense or a very different sense. The fly is not a bad example, Tessa, of just oh, they can see things very differently, and they can move a lot differently than most animals can. And also, once they find out about the force field, it's not a stretch of the imagination to understand that, yeah, in order for an ecosystem to work, things should be able to come in and out, just not things as big as or bigger probably than a bird. Well, I mean, I guess they wouldn't know that if they didn't land, but do you know what I mean? If it was actually closed off to everything, the grass would die. Right? Yeah.
Well, and also it would look really suspicious if there was no flies that could go in. If there was just almost a web of bugs not able to get in, would look very weird.
That's the issue I had with the Slaughterhouse book, where it was just wouldn't there just be tons of fried carcasses of birds just sputtering on this thing all the time?
Well, and I think there were, but it was dome shaped, so they'd all fall into the ground. But I think it was described there was a perimeter of dead animals you could see.
Gross.
I remember that from one of the books. Anyway, maybe it was book 9. There was a bunch of books with force fields.
Okay, so let's presume that eventually, I do think that the honeybee thing is probably the smartest one, because as soon as you morph the bee, it's like, oh, I can just see the answer of how to get in here. The other question is, why do you have to go into the house at all to talk to him? Like, because we know that, like, you can't tell where...
he leaves. He goes to work.
But also, like, you don't even need to let him see you. Like, just thought speak to him.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
And be like, hey, listen, like, this is exactly what happened, so that's how you know it's me, and here's the deal. And, like, you can basically tell him whatever the fuck you want, right? Like, you don't have to, like, show up at this buff alien scorpion centaur's house as your small, frail child body. Like, right?
What if I maybe like even write him a letter and put it in his little human mailbox and just be like, hey, we would like to talk about things. I feel like the whole recon was just they wanted to get some kind of edge over Gafinilan because Gafinilan had seen Marco demorph to human. So they wanted to get like, okay, he's got that as blackmail. What do we have on him? That's kind of the read that I got.
But like, that's only all the more reason to thought speak to him, because guess what you do when you think that you're like in danger or being watched? Most people will do some pretty suspicious shit and give away what is they're trying to hide and things like that, right? Like, does that make sense?
So what, you thought speak him and he's going to get so flustered he shows you that he's hiding something? Is that your idea?
He just like plays his hand a little bit easier, and then you can observe him all the time.
He's like a hardcore warrior boy, though, dude. This guy is like Tiger Claw of the Warrior Cats. He's not showing any hand. Like
pilot.
He held back that pain from his Sula's disease so tightly. Like, I don't know if he would.
I don't know that he necessarily would. Also, like, we know, like, we wouldn't know this at this point in the story, but we know later that he doesn't have anything like physically evident to hide.
Yeah.
But we could also just go in, and long before he's met any of us, we could figure out that Myrtle is not actually there, which would be a big, card to play.
Yeah, that'd be a big win. Figuring out, hey, we know your bud's not here. That seems weird. Maybe we can help you with that.
Also, just like, you're putting a lot of faith for no reason into the fact that he, like, the thought that he won't just shoot you. Like, it would be pretty easy for him to be like, oh, you're fucking with me, you're obviously a Yerk. Like, why aren't you morphing back? Yeah, why aren't you morphing back into an Andalite? Boom, kill you. Shot you in the head. Die, Yerk. Done. Why even go through that risk? Just bombard him with thought speak. Fucking hell. Like, and then, like, you can communicate that way fine, and you can get through all the tension and heat without there being any physical danger.
I feel like it's like, this is like, all right, this is the answer to so many problems in the world between... like, not between institutions or whatever, but between individual groups of people. Just like fucking communicate, just sit down, talk it out, and go from there. Like, just as you said, barrage him with thought speak, or talk it out like that. Like, what if the Animorphs played it really openly and they were like, hey, we could tell from our first interaction that you're not sided with the Yerks because you seemed hell-bent on killing Visser 3, and when you thought Axe was Visser 3, we're also not with the Yerks. Want to get coffee and talk about how bad the Yerks are.
Kind of, right? I mean,
right,
also, like, the Yerks wouldn't have thought speak. Pretty good indicator.
Only Visser 3 has thought speak.
And if you, like, presumably, even though you can't tell where they're coming from or necessarily what the person looks like, you can distinguish between voices. So, like, if 6 of them were like, hey, I can thought speak, I can thought speak, I can thought speak, it's like,
as can I.
You're obviously not all Visser 3.
Hey, I'm Prince Jake.
Okay.
I do have to mention one thing that we forgot to mention last week, but Cassie says something while in Wolf Morph, as they're talking to Gafinilan and like talking about like stuff, and Gafinilan looks at her in Wolf Morph. But you're not supposed to know exactly where thought speak comes from. So that's a big whoopsie.
Maybe it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to defend it, because you're right. It doesn't make any sense.
Caught them. We caught them. They made a mistake and we caught them. Pack it away. Bang it up, folks. That's all this is you try and catch them in their lies.
I mean, I feel like if you just explain it and like explain it enough times and like he can go through his anger stage without, you know, pointing a gun at your head or you having to like break through windows as bears and wolves.
Or even just like if you watch him for a little bit first, you don't see Myrtle for literal days. And then that can be one of the things you ask him about too. Like, hey, where's Myrtle?
Where be Myrtle?
Maybe he got captured by the Yerks. Do you want our help?
Yeah, and maybe that would have made sense to like do reconnaissance on the Yerks at the same time. I mean, that's harder though, I guess. I don't know.
Like I'm wondering how long ago it was that Myrtle was captured by the Yerks, because if his scent isn't showing up at all in this house for a very long, long time, then it's been a while, right? So what kind of time pressure are the Yerks putting on Gafinilan?
They know he's going to die.
Like, I guess they're obviously not putting any pressure on him. It's just kind of like, this is what you need to do if you want your friend back. So Myrtle could have been captured for like a month or more.
Might also explain why it was so easy to get him back, because they're just like, I don't know, we're just like moving this guy around all the time, but like the deal is like he's not even going to attack us, so what are we doing?
Gafinilan just needed 3 more people.
Yeah, just literally like 3 more capable dudes, and then he's good to go. Maybe if Harry wasn't such a loner, he could have met with some like doomsday preppers and got them to shoot some aliens for him.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. I feel like we kind of did that. We kind of got it.
Just like talk it out. Just talk it out.
As cool as the power move that Jake does, like going, like knocking on his fucking door. Because I think that's so funny, like him looking up at this giant Andalite. I know he wasn't an Andalite morph when he answered the door, but
I imagine he was a big man.
Yeah. I just think that's very good. But it's stupid. Like, it makes no sense. It's a power move for the sake of a power move. It's not strategic at all. So the answer would be, like, do reconnaissance on more than just a bird morph, and do it for a little longer than you did, because there's obviously no time crunch involved. And then just thought speak to him. Like, don't just be like, yeah, I'm watching you. And he looks around, it's like, oh, there's millions of organisms around me. Like, there's no way for me to know who's talking.
Yeah, there's no way for me to know who it is.
Yeah, and then explain to him the whole situation so there's no, like, violent tension. And I'm pretty sure pretty quickly you would realize, like, well, maybe not quickly, but he would realize eventually, like, okay, like, what do I have to lose from accepting their help?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Cassie could just go over there and, like, gently bully him into saying yes at some point if all else fails.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look, we're so much better at being Animorphs than these guys are.
We are so much better at being Animorphs.
We're so good at it.
Next segment is
Everyday Animorphs. Everyday now.
In this segment, we try to tackle an everyday situation that did or might have happened in this book. All the normal quote-unquote rules of morphing apply, so no morphing humans, that's a big one. The situation this week is, how would you use morphing to deal with missing a limb? So that's pretty open to interpretation, whether it's you were born that way or from an injury or whatever. But we're doing like Megamorphs 2 rules, where just morphing out and morphing back does not heal you.
For some reason.
Because
it's the Jurassic period. I don't fucking, whatever. I don't have much for this, so why don't you guys go first?
Okay, I have a really good one. Can I start?
As the teacher, yeah. Like, yeah, you can fucking start. It's fine.
Can I start? Okay. I would practice a lot so I can work on controlling the morph, right? So I get, like, Cassie level skills of, like, okay, where can it start? Where can it stop? So for eyesight, I would morph a hawk or owl before driving, but just the eyes, so I have clear vision. Owl for nighttime driving, so I can see. Broken limb, partially morphing bug or lobster, so you get that exoskeleton supporting the injured limb. This one is kind of weird. So what if I had like some weird heart problem, like a hole in my heart that's not supposed to be there, and it's one of those ones that doesn't, really get realized until you're 25, and you're like,
hole in the heart-itis, I think it's called.
Hole in the heart-itis. This is like a real thing that people can get.
I actually think it's shot through the heart. Okay.
Yeah.
Shot through the heart, and you're to the blame, darling. You give blind gun owners a bad name.
We
Mikhail. Mikhail, you did a good joke.
What? That was so patronizing.
Say I have some like congenital heart failure or something going on. What I do is we can't morph other humans. So at first I was like, acquire a healthy human. Okay, fine. Acquire a pig or something. Their organs are really similar to ours. And just like acquire a healthy one and partially morph so that my heart is now the healthy pig heart. And just like be a nothlet like that. Do you think that would work at all? I feel like it would be very difficult, but I feel also like the way
that could go wrong. That's
break bad really well, but I feel like there's got to be a way it makes sense, right? Where you can get all the ventricles lined up.
I mean, I feel like you're also picking a really hard example, like because mine was more like acquire a chimp than just practice morphing the chimp. I mean, hole in the heart is a fucking hard one to practice, but like if it was just a missing leg or something, like just get really good at morphing a chimp to the point where you can like control just morphing the leg of a chimp. And then if you nothlet halfway through a morph, which I think you do, just nothlet that way. Better to have a leg and no morphing ability. Well, I guess that's a debate to have also, but like if you want to permanently deal with not having legs, like yeah, chimp leg.
Yeah, if the prosthetics are too expensive, so you just get like a chimp leg, but hopefully you don't just have like a 2-foot long chimp leg and like a 4-foot long human leg. Otherwise you'll be lopsided. Also, I don't know how long human legs are supposed to be. Someone help me math.
It's funny that you said not a prosthetic, because I feel like the easier answer is threaten prosthetic makers in like scary morphs.
You know what? That's the best way, is just like threaten the policymakers to make it like, okay, now it's a law in whatever city you live in that every place has to have very good wheelchair accessibility. Make sure that prosthetics are cheap to buy.
Or how about a new law? The senator passes a new law and he's like, everyone needs to be shot in the heart with a gun when they're born. So that Tessa doesn't feel left out.
Okay, yo, what about like a literal thing? I have asthma. Could I just morph cheetah lungs, just the cheetah lungs? Because I'm so envious of that bit in book 37 where Rachel's like, my God, breathing as a cheetah is so fucking easy. I'm like, wow, if only.
I feel like we're looking for like permanent solutions, and I feel like what Braden's got is more like actually practical.
Yeah.
As like using it as like a skill to help you rather than like
becoming
change your
half
leg.
alien.
Have you ever wanted to change your leg?
Yeah, I'm just gonna break the rules of morphing, and then like
I feel like you guys are just a lot of your stuff is just like trying to defeat the broken leg or like the busted eye. I only have 2 really. But I have to get over like a busted eye. Spend as much time in Batmorph as you can, and get to like essentially see without seeing and memorize by feel, sort of the landscape of a lot of places, of more common areas in your life that you've like seen a lot but don't really have a mental map of, in the same way that like in the same way it's like, you know, when you wake up and it's still really dark out, you know, you don't remember that well. It is dark, so you still bump into shit even though it's like your room. You should know it. You should have some memory of it, but you don't, because you're just not thinking about it. So I feel like that's a nice, I guess the same thing could be accomplished by just like looking around as any seeing morph and just like memorizing things. But I feel it would be more effective if you had a sort of map. It'd be a nice middle ground if you are something else that is technically blind but sees in another way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, it's probably the best.
I think so. I think somewhere in there, I got what you were trying to say.
No, I think it makes perfect sense, because it's basically like, instead of being like, oh, how do we use this space magic to get our half-holed up heart back together? It's like, no, why don't we just like use it like a tool like a crutch
tool,
or a
yeah.
wheelchair. It's like, yeah.
I mean, that's what people would use it more in real life, I think.
Yeah, because the chances of someone wanting to be like a half-chimp, nothlet freak is a lot lower than someone just being like, fuck, this place doesn't have a ramp. I'll just morph into something, morph out of it. Like fucking morph a gorilla.
Or more, I was more thinking of the fact that, like, you know, people, like, we don't have a Cassie in our friend group, y'all. We can't just sneak into the gardens. Whereas if you could, you know, just be the seeing eye dog that you need in the world. Can we just move on?
Yeah, we can move on. We can move on.
My life.
My morph.
In this segment, we decide on what the best use of the main morph in this book would be in our own lives. Obviously, the main morph is basically the only new morph, which is the honeybee. So how would you guys use it for purely personal reasons?
All right. Mikhail, do you want to go first? I went first last time, so I feel like it's rude.
I would use it to learn how to dance. Now, hear me out.
Ooh.
Saucy.
Bees can dance really well, or at least very effectively. So they communicate things through dancing, like distances and locations of flowers and shit, as far as I know. So I would dance in the hive and just like figure out, okay, get it. And then I would get on the dance floor as a human and I would communicate the rhythm and the soul of the music through my dance. That's how you misuse words.
Nice.
No, that works.
I like that.
That's fucking art as shit, bruh.
I would morph a bee from a nearby hive. And have them see if I can coax them to build a hive closer to me so that I can harvest honey without having to, like, find the bee store where you buy the bees. And then I would experiment with different kinds of honey, like leading them to different kinds of flowers and see how that changes the type of honey. Mm-hmm. Also, by myself, as my own little bee self, I would pollinate different plants to do my own Mendel experiments with plant hybrids.
Jesus, don't say it. Oh, Mendel. Jesus, I thought we were both thinking of Mengel.
That's different.
Mendel, not Mengele. Mendel. The one who, you know, you learn about him when you learn Punnett squares.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We're fucked up people. But that's immediately where our heads went.
I did not think that. Only you did, I think.
Okay, that's fair.
He said that for any of the other David apologists that are listening right now.
Brayden, what would you do with the honeybee morph?
Pretty much same as Tessa, except I would like highly industrialize it. I would like swap out for like hours at a time and become the queen of many different hives. And yeah. And I would like just whip them all into a frenzy and just give horrid birth to so many eggs.
Just sort of like a squirt park of eggs.
Pretty much, yeah. And just
Yeah.
have so many. I would personally make it so that bees were no longer endangered.
Would you? Okay, because it takes longer than 2 hours to gestate a bee egg. So you would have to have bee sex and then keep the egg inside of your human body, junior style.
Wait, how do you know it takes more? Like, fish have eggs and then pollinate them or sperminate them after they even leave the fish.
But it takes them a while to create the egg. What's the chance that you would have to, like, acquire a pregnant, like, queen?
And I don't think you'd get the DNA of the eggs because they'd be different DNA, right?
Yeah, it would be separate, right? Like,
listen, there's a way to do this. You could just be like the king fuckboy of the queen. and then like just manipulate her with like backhanded apologies and negging. That's a thing, I think.
I don't think negging works on bees.
Yeah.
That's the quote of the week.
You called that jelly?
Are you talking about you're trying to make bees monogamous?
I mean, I'm trying to make your thing work in some way that doesn't involve gestating bees' eggs as a nothlet.
I'm very uncomfortable with that. That's making me more uncomfortable than Hereditary.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty gross. No matter how you... there's no good honey verb for that. No matter how you spin it. What did friends at home say?
Movie Polls says star in a live-action remake of a B movie, of course. Which, just classic answer. Troidal, bear and bird power at Troidal Power on Twitter. Step 1, morph B. Schlorp. Gross. Step 2, use B's super senses to find sweetest food around. Smells good. 3, being a bee, scare away all humans in 23-mile radius. Step 4, demorph. Yuck. Step 5, eat free sweets. I think Troidal is missing the fact that you could die there. You could be,
Worth it.
very easily killed by those humans. Emily Bourgeois at Hello Puns, the artist of our little Patreon art that we sent out. Thank you again, Emily. Says pollinate because Lord, we need it. And a lot of people are specifying that they would really not want to see any social insects anymore, and that is a problem spot.
Yep.
Jen Beaupre on Facebook says, look at all the colors in the spectrum and then try to recreate it after demorphing in art. That's actually a really good answer.
I like that one.
Not to let the artist take all the glory. Richard Phillips says, kamikaze and sting inside my neighbor's ear. And then when he would get swatted, he says, I would be happy in the knowledge that my death pheromones would attract brother bees to sting her to death. I also think, Richard, give me a call, because I think this is like the second time we've had a annoy, harass, or murder my neighbor answer from you.
Please call us and do so for, I don't know, as long as it would take to maybe track your number. No reason.
CJ the Siege Engine would make himself some mead. Hell yeah, dude. Zer-O-Moji would infiltrate the home of a suburban alien couple and embark on a ghost-written adventure. Hey, now, wait a minute.
That was your most, anime reaction to anything. What a baka answer.
Nani? And then someone just commented, could you imagine the joy and terror of being able to morph? It would be absolutely amazing. It's that doesn't answer the question, but I like that energy. Keep it.
On Reddit, we've got a lot of sort of kindred souls. A lot of, reenacting the Bee movie.
They love it there.
Falling in love with a human girl is another one, yeah. User PRNCRNY. Porn corny? Anyways, identify the location of hives, then as a human harvest the honey for myself.
Oh.
I feel like there's a couple steps missing there that would be quite a bit harder.
I mean, you definitely have to put on oven mitts and, a big net.
There's a very practical one here that we sort of haven't acknowledged yet, but just, hiding. Because it's such a small little fuzzy bee.
It does take, some amount of time to morph, though.
Yeah.
It's never really clear. They say in the books, it takes, 2 to 5 minutes. But then also in the books, they could do it in 15 seconds. So, I mean, I guess if somebody broke into your house and was going to come after you and you wanted to escape, morphing a bee is as good as morphing anything.
Paranoid, as on Reddit, says, hiding from my boss when I'm supposed to be working. Pretty great. And I think maybe this is my answer of the week.
Answer of the week.
This is from user Glissando365 who said on Reddit, who says, pollinate my mom's garden. She's been struggling to get her vegetables pollinated, and she planted a bunch of extra bee-friendly flowers to help. So it would be fun. Oh.
What the fuck is that sincerity bullshit? What the fuck do you think this is? Is that on Reddit? That's on Reddit. They should know better. This is not a sincere podcast. What the fuck? What the fuck?
I would like to voice that I do not feel that way. And I do not feel the same as Brayden and never have about anything. Except for Andalite martial arts.
Yeah, that's true. We all about that, baby. We have a secret handshake where we slap tails.
Our last segment is predictions, which normally Brayden will predict what happens as a newbie. to the series will predict what happens in the next book, but we're trying to get done all the TV episodes before we get into the last run of the book series. So we're going to watch, I apologize in advance, 5 episodes coming up. Yes.
I mean, it makes sense. The next book 41 is like a lot of people in the fandom call it a really powerful book, and a lot of the story hinges on it. So it makes sense that this is like a good time to take a break from, when we're going to be recording next.
Yeah, and also maybe to just cleanse our palate because we had some pretty serious books lately. The Buff-a-Human, the horror movie of the series.
Yeah, the Buff-a-Human's fucking dark.
The bro romance. Anyways, so next time we're gonna be talking about the 5th last episode, which is episode 22. It's called My Name is Eric, and since none of us have actually seen this far into the TV series, what are our predictions?
Predictions!
My prediction is that it's going to be My Name is Jake, which is the first episode, but Jake just refers to himself as Eric. And it was just like to save money.
Does he still drum on the window for no reason?
Yes. Nothing's changed. In fact, they just like splice in someone else saying Eric. So
it's like, my name is Eric.
Yeah, and they do that thing where it's like, in that first episode, he leans so close to the mic and he's like, my name is Jake. And it's like,
I know, it's so blown out.
Stop it. Why?
Oh,
That's
man.
so bad. Any other predictions?
Okay, I mean, we're probably going to see them as androids at least for a little bit, so I'm wondering how those graphics are going to look. My guess is that it's something super dumb. Here's the first 15 minutes of the next episode is my pitch.
Oh, so you're about to talk for 15 minutes?
No, it's a very small scene. It just inexplicably takes that long because of all of the cuts, synth music, and the camera running around in circles. But Marco and Jake are at the cyber cafe. They see Eric. Who's that guy? Oh yeah, he's Eric from school. You remember? He's pretty quiet. All of a sudden, he's getting messed with some tough guys. Jake goes to fight the bullies and Marco holds him back. He's like, yo man, what if they're Yerks, man? Suddenly, one of the bullies is going to throw water onto Eric. Water! Oh no! Eric shorts out for like a split 10 seconds. Jake and Marco, and also everyone in Cybertopia, can see that he's an android. But luckily, only Jake and Marco are the weird ones paying attention, so then they go and confront Eric afterwards.
Did you just copy and paste the Wikipedia article, or?
No, this is my honest guess. I just think it's going to take them like way too long to do this. I am actually very excited to see how true this is because I worked hard. I thought about what the TV show does and how they would probably introduce androids. And I think this is it.
Okay. That's not like funny, but.
No,
I'll allow it.
Predictions aren't supposed to be funny, Mikhail. They're serious.
This podcast is not supposed to be funny, actually, to be honest.
I mean, it's succeeding in that.
Hey, at least we got one thing right. Braden?
I think it's obviously going to follow the plot of one of the episodes, probably the one introducing Eric, where he is introduced to them and the way that goes. Y'all know the story. But going off the title, My Name is Eric, like the way they present the intros to each book, I think maybe, just maybe, they're going to mix up the formula and have Eric narrate.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be fun.
It's a big ask for a show that's delivered nothing over the course of 21 episodes. Except for that one time that Tom morphed, like, Jake morphed Tom. That was pretty good.
And we've got to see Axe and Tobias in cool leather jackets.
And they slap fight at one point. Visitor 3 and Axe slap fight. Tessa, where can you find more of our stuff?
You can find it all over the internet. We have our holes in all kinds of internet pots. We got our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org. We've also got Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else I'll lock my Twitter account again, bruh.
God, you don't want that?
You can also show your support for our show by subscribing to Braden's locked Twitter account.
It's not locked anymore.
It'll be locked after this episode.
Okay, fair.
You can also subscribe to our Patreon page, patreon.com/DORKBAJIR.
We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and you get to say happy birthday to me tomorrow. But yeah, not tomorrow. Not actually. But I'll let you guys know on Twitter. I mean, I will have let you guys know on Twitter it's my birthday, and you guys will say happy birthday, right?
And the ones who didn't say happy birthday, well, they're not these guys, because these patrons are our patrons at the Dork-Bajir level or higher. They're the ones who wish us happy birthday, and in return, we give them an Animorph-style title. Starting with...
Big shout out to Andrew Vila, the name of the dance that I created after demorphing from a bee and then cutting a rug.
Greg Della Posta, the name I give to my hybrid orchid roses.
Spencer, the name I give to my hybrid rose orchid.
And Yanka, the human with a chimp nose.
Mariah Wamby, just talking it out.
Shanna, just busting out the back force walls.
Zachary Vaudo, the hole in my heart.
Michael Armenta, just becoming a bee when you want to get real small.
Steam Driven, the one who knows who Pink Guy is.
Martha Urquhart, the person in the background who, ran out without watching this robot short out for 10 seconds.
Anne-Marie Ellis, the sweet stuff that you can find if you're a bee.
Elemist, the not so sweet stuff you can find if you're a bee, if you know what I'm saying. Getting it on with that queen pushy.
Yeah, I think that's what they call it. Nick, the only person I'd be okay bombarding me with thought speak. For the Fanimorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, the made man.
And this has been Fanimorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles. Oh, guys, I nailed the bee pun on that.
Fuck yeah.
The bee pun,
God.
best bee pun that has ever existed.
Oh, yes.
Finest.
Definitely not one from a bee movie, so you know it's the good shit. Hey guys, speaking of, what's the deal with pollen?
All right, I can't acknowledge your Jerry Seinfeld reference because I'm receiving a Pulitzer Prize for my pun.
Hi, hello, welcome to the ad for the show. I'm Mitch, the host of Whack Talk Radio. On this show, I talk to interesting people about interesting things. Do you need to know more than that? Okay, fine. Pretty much we'll talk about whatever my guest is interested in or passionate for. Sometimes it'll be silly, sometimes serious, sometimes a bit of both. Whatever the topic is, hopefully we'll find a way to make you that much more of an expert about it. You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, along with some other equally awesome shows on our network. New episodes of Whack Talk Radio are every Sunday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcasts. Let us know what you think on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Whack Talk Radio. That's WENGH Talk Radio.
Whack Talk Radio.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy.
a podcast network.